start by showing you that exact same process, which I outlined in the previous slide, starting with the data collection and data import, going to the data analysis process, going to the merger process, okay? And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to write it on the chat, okay? So let's load the application. Okay. So I hope you can see my screen. This is now Nakisa HR Suite. So I'm logging in, and at this point, we company, which is this company that I have, acquired another company called Zark Inc. Technologies, and what they'd like to do is they need to bring in the data. So one of the things you can do is you can start with what we call the org merger scenario. Now you may not have any created. For this example, I've created a couple here. But just to show how you can start the process, you can start from the very beginning through create scenario. You can also do it from the hamburger menu up here, where you can say my scenarios and then create scenario. And from there, you will select the type of scenario that you need to create, which is an org merger scenario. It's not an org design, it's not team design. You give this one a name. So let's say Zark Inc. merger. And my recommendation would be to do it from the entire data set. What this means is I am copying my entire data of the acquiring company into a scenario, which I will call Zark Inc. merger. And in that scenario, I will then import the data of the acquired company or the external entity in there. So that's what this does. So create a scenario from the entire data set based on my baseline, the current acquiring company data. This is the date in which the information will become effective following the approval and workflow process. Again, this is typically a date that you do in the future. Probably you will find this will be completed by, let's say, end of May, at least for this phase of the integration. So that's the date I would be choosing, okay? Now, for the interest of time, I went ahead and I've created an org merger scenario. I called it Zark Inc. merger. And when you create the scenario, you will see in the scenario management page some information that you can maintain here. But one of the most important difference to org design is the import data. So this import data allows you to import the data of the acquired company. And the way it works is because I've already done it, so that's why you see a lot of data here that I've imported. But if you haven't done it, what you will be seeing is something that looks like this. So you will go to import data, and then you will do start data import. The solution will give you, will recommend that you download a sample Excel file. Once you open that Excel file, you will have a bunch of tables, and I'll just show you what these tables look like. They look like this. So you will have a bunch of spreadsheets. There is a number of spreadsheets that are available here. There are minimum requirements for this to work. And depending on the data model of the acquired company, if you have a position management structure, let's take that as an example, then the minimum requirements would be to maintain the positions. So you have a position tab. This is a list of all of the positions in the company. So the position ID, begin date, end date, and name. As you know, we have effective dates. And as a second important tab, I would say is the position belongs to position, because this allows us to create the hierarchy between the positions. So we now have the structure of the acquired entity or acquired company. There is other data elements which are also very important. So you have employee information. As an example here in employee basic info, you see the employee ID, the first name, last name, display name, gender, etc. Again, you may not have all of these data elements. So you work with what you have, as long as these minimum requirements are being met, such as position data and employee data, okay? So you go ahead and you create this type of information. You have employee compensation here, where you define the salaries with the currencies, etc. If you have this information, great. If you don't have it, then again, don't worry about it. Employee occupies position. In order to define where the employees are sitting in this acquired organization becomes very important. You have talent information. You have a lot of information, key information, which positions are key versus non-key. Again, this is all defined in this template, okay? Once you've filled out the template, then the process becomes as simple as going in here and uploading that file. So you go ahead, you find the file that you want to upload, you take it and then you bring it in and then you're done. So once you've uploaded the file, then of course, you can then wait for it to be uploaded and then you do commit changes. Now, in order for us to not waste so much time here, I've already done that. So I've taken that file, I've updated it here, I've imported the entities. And there's one thing that you don't see because I've already done it, which is called select import color. So import color allows us to have a color coding to identify positions, departments, employees that have been acquired versus the baseline. And I will show you how this looks like in a second. And then you will have commit changes. So once you've imported the data, commit changes, you index your data, and then basically you are done. So once you've done that, what would be the next step? The next step would be to, let me close these ones, we don't need it anymore, would be to find the roots of the organization. So finding roots is very important because now you have two entities. You have your CEO, which is of the baseline, and you have the CEO of Zark Technologies, which is from the acquired organization. My recommendation, the way I would do that merger is I would start by assigning a work area for, let's say, myself as an org design specialist, again, working on this. And I will also do another work area for the other organization, which is CEO of Zark Technology. So again, I added two work areas here. And if I go back, you will see these two work areas are being created. One is for my CEO and one is for the CEO of the acquired company. Okay. So let's do the first thing, which comes through one's mind, which is how does the organization look like for the CEO of Zark Technologies? So I'm going to load the organization and we are going to have a look at it. So this is how the organization looks like today. I will change maybe from layer to headcount. So I see here that I've the organization that I've acquired has a CEO. His name is Bill. It's in Chicago, United States. There's 1,616 total headcount within this organization with a total cost of 90.64 million. Now, I didn't have to do anything in order to get these KPIs. The span of control is calculated, total cost is calculated, headcount is aggregated based on the data that I've imported. So all of these KPIs are so useful for you because you can then analyze effectively what the data looks like of the acquired company, right? This is very different from you as an organization. This is the company that you've acquired. And not only that, you also have many different ways to analyze this data. You can look at organizational overview, which is a sunburst chart of this entire organization. I can look at the different distribution here. I can filter my data based on different criteria, slice and dice, drill down, whatever I need to do to understand the data better. I also have a very comprehensive dashboard that I can load as well. So if you don't want to look at structural type data using my in-chart analytics, I can look at this dashboard here, which will give me information on various elements, organization alignment, on pay grades, talent data. If you have performance and talent and risk of loss information, you can get all of this information here. So let's say you've analyzed what the new organization looks like. The one thing that you probably may want to do is compare them side by side. So I pin this tab, and this will allow me to go back to my scenario management page and load my current organizational structure. So now we have two tabs, one for CEO, this is my current organization, and one for CEO Zark Technologies, which is the acquired company. Of course, if I switch to two-panel mode, it will make it even better for me because I can then take the acquired company data on the right-hand side and the acquiring company on the left-hand side. And now I have a view that looks like this. So side by side, I can look at how the data looks like. And then comes the topic of what do we do now that we have both structures shown side by side. This is where you need to start making decisions. Maybe you start with one entity. Maybe you look at the chief financial officer to start with, and maybe you want to bring this into the left-hand side structure, which is the acquiring company structure. And this merger would probably mean that the CFO and the VP of Finance organizations need to be merged together, and then decisions would need to be taken. But what do we do? So in this example, let's say I want to move the CFO position, which is managed by Simona Maxwell, based in New York. So I can basically take that position with all its direct and indirect reports, drag that position under the CEO. And as I do this change, you can right away see the impact of my changes on the KPI. So before the change, I had a headcount of 1,478. Once the data is indexed, you will see that this headcount will increase by 198, which is the new organization that I brought in under the CEO. And you can see that the new headcount is now 1,676. The total cost is now 68.23 million. And this is how the CFO organization looks like. Okay. So remember when I mentioned in the import process, you have this assign the import color. This is really this handshake icon, which represents imported data. And this icon, you can have it in different color. I chose blue. But whenever you see a box that has this icon, this means it is data that is imported, not coming from your baseline structure, such as these boxes here. Okay, so that's what this exactly means. Okay, so you must be thinking, let me switch to one panel mode first. So we have better use of the white space on the screen. So how do we do this very massive job of bringing in these two structures together? What capabilities do I have to merge these two organizations? First of all, we've already decided that maybe the CFO position needs to report to Mark Johnson, but what about the VP of Finance? So maybe the VP of Finance need to report into the CFO. So I can take the VP of Finance. I'm just going to go into one page here. I'll fit the screen into one page, and then I will take VP of Finance under CFO. By the way, having these two panels become very critical when you're doing cross-functional assignments for a large organizational, large enterprise organizations where you have thousands of records. You may not have the ability to do the drag and drop from within one panel here. So having these two panels and going across, doing cross-functional assignment or from the acquired company to the acquiring company becomes very easy for you. So now I brought the VP of Finance organization under the CFO organization, and now certain decisions need to be taken. First of all, what I do when I'm looking into, when I demonstrate this, and probably this is best practice as well for many organizations doing separation or looking at redundant positions, you may create a dummy node under the CEO. Maybe you want to call this one the exit or carve out organization, where you may just place the positions that you're not so sure of or that may be redundant that you no longer require. So you can have this exit organization for that. You can also color code it in different colors, so you can very easily identify where this organization is. So I'm just going to color code it in red just to identify that maybe it will be a placeholder for all of redundant positions, redundant, let's say, employees that may no longer be required in the future to be structured. The second thing maybe you want to do is maybe you want to do certain decisions, such as changing position titles. So VP of Finance, that's the original title of the position. But maybe in this example, I'd like to modify this position so I can edit the position. Maybe I want to promote Mary Jonathan to Senior VP of Finance. I can do that here. I can change whatever attributes I need to for the position. So now we changed Mary Jonathan to become the Senior VP of Finance. And one other thing I want to do is, if you look at Simona Maxwell, or as a CFO, she has a very large span of control, and this is not really aligned with the guiding principles of this organization, which we know has a span of control bounds between 6 and 12. So how I need to reduce the span of control. And one thing you notice here is that you have a bunch of billing specialists, a bunch of appraisal positions. So maybe you want to create a new position under, just as an example, under the CFO. Let's call it the billing manager position. and I can create this position here. So you can create positions, you can drag positions from the acquired company to the acquiring company. You can normalize jobs, functional area, job families by doing mass edits. Of course, we cannot do everything in this session, but I just want to highlight certain features that could be relevant for you. Again, I'm going to also modify the color here to green to indicate it's a newly created position so that I have a visual, an easy visualization of that position here. And this is where I can start saying, okay, we have billing specialist positions. In fact, if I show you which layer these things in, because these organizations are at different layers. So here we have layer 3. So we have 1, 2, 3 billing specialists in layer 3. And I have here billing specialist positions in layer 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and many others, and many appraisals. So just to show one of the key capabilities of Nakisa HR Suite, which is very important for you to know, is the mass change. So let's say I want to move all of these billing specialist positions that are scattered across 2 different structures under the billing manager. I can leverage the search function. Instead of looking for employees, I'm going to switch to positions. And I want to not get any billing specialist position. I want to get the ones in layer 3 and layer 4 of the organization. So I can select layer 3. I can select layer 4. So I can also drill down, filter, slice and dice by layers. And I can look for the keyword billing specialist. And then as I do these changes, you will see the result set shown here. I can select, these positions. I can also do a full select here, or I can just randomly select the ones which are important for me. So let's say I decided to choose all these positions here. I can then do a quick mass move, or first of all, maybe I want to do change management. So yellow means these positions will be transferred to a new manager. So I'm going to change them into yellow. And one of the things I would like to do is also not just change the color coding, but actually do the change to the new manager. So I'm going to go ahead and move them at once to the newly created billing manager position. As I type the position, it will show up in my list here, and I can submit this. So now that we've done this change, let's have a look of how this looks like. By the way, the data is being indexed, so it will take a few seconds for you to see this new change. Now the new billing manager organization that I created has 6 direct reports here with a total cost of 179.93K. So I can do an impact analysis on the fly with the new structures that I'm building, span of control, what is the head count, what is the total cost of the organization, etc. So now we have a new organization that looks like this. And if I go up, I see also the span of control went down from 24 to 21. The span of control of finance also went down from 19 to 16 because I moved 3 billing specialist positions that you see here and 3 from the acquired organization, which is indicated by this icon here. So now that I've done these changes, I can continue. Basically, there's no limits of what you can do. So you can go ahead and start doing further and further changes. But maybe I will stop here and talk a little bit about this new structure that I've built and how this looks like. So now the new CFO organization actually looks like this. It's the merged entity. You will see a bunch of positions here. You will see the ones that don't have the icon, which means coming from the acquiring entity. But also you may find out that, okay, there is actually a bunch of appraisals that are available here, and there's so many of them as well as of the acquiring company. You may not need, there's some redundancies here. Maybe you want to get rid of these redundancies. So you could actually perform a search. Again, leverage the search capability, look for these specific positions, which are appraisal positions, and then make decisions based on which positions you may want to keep, maybe positions that you want to move to become redundant, maybe this position here, that position there, and this position here. These positions will become redundant. I no longer need them, so I can select them, and then I will go ahead and move them to the exit organization, which I created to identify these potential redundancies. So I've done that as well. So this is something very easy to do. And as I've done that, you will see these positions will disappear from this organization, and they will be moved under the exit phase or the exit structure here on the right-hand side. And the exit structure will also tell you that with this change, the new organization will have a headcount of less by 4 and the total cost savings of 50.64K based on the salaries of these specific individuals. Of course, I can also look at total target compensation. I can look at other or fully loaded costs if I have this on my system to give you the full picture of the changes that you're working on. Okay. So once you're done with the changes, comes I didn't really show you the workflow and the approval process. You may want to assign different stakeholders that work on these areas of the organization. You can divide it by function or by structure. And once you're done, of course, you may want to track all these changes. Now, there's different log reports which you can use for tracking all these changes that you worked on. The audit log report is an interesting one here. It's a clean report. It will just show you what are the different actions that you've done. So in today's demonstration, I've actually done 16 different actions. I've done 13 move. I've done 2 new operations. I've done 1 edit. And you can see what these actions are. If you look at the edit, for example, it will tell you that this action was done on the 21st of March by Sherif Luka, by myself, and this is impacting the object, which is a position, object number 49091274. The previous value is VP of Finance, the new value is Senior VP of Finance. So every single change is tracked in this very nice audit log report. And of course, if you are having the write back, this then becomes a very powerful tool because it would be great if you can even write back this information in the ERP. With mergers is a little bit tricky because this merger data does not exist in your ERP system, and it only exists in the scenario. So the changes report will not only show you these 16 elements here, or 16 changes here, it might show you a lot more because you imported data that does not exist at all in your baseline. So when we do a comparison to the baseline, they will appear in what we call the changes report, which is a comprehensive report. So that changes report, you can see it here. I'm going to just quickly show you how this looks like. I will create a new report, and we'll just have to wait a few minutes until this report is created. So while it's doing this, let me pause and see if there are any questions so far. Okay. Again, feel free to just unmute yourself, ask away, or simply, okay, a question. Yeah, Patil Sanjana.
Sanjana. Hi,
Sanjana,
Sherif.
hello.
So, you probably are aware we are moving from SAP ECC Prem to Employee Central on cloud. Because this is so if we do all the org restructuring, for example, it's on similar lines. If we do all restructuring on the system, will it write back onto Employee Central, or is there another way we can export the file and upload it into the system?
Yeah, that's a tricky question because if you're on SAP HCM, your data structure is the organizational structure. So you have your organist, positions, employees. If you're moving to success factors, we would need to understand what the data model looks like. In success factors, you may have, different types of structures. You may have position management, or you may have the company structure, which again, you could enable if you wanted to align the data models of SAP with success factors would mean maybe you introduce legal entity, business units, divisions, departments, etc. So it really depends on the data models. If they are aligned, but we have the integration done with SAP HCM, then you would have to you cannot write it back into success factors unless we integrate to success factors. So you will have to rely on the changes report, and we have a detailed report or a simplified version, which then will track all of the changes that you've done as part of the post-merger integration. So that's a very good question. And again, it does not only apply to post-merger, but I think applies to org design in general. What would it mean if you move to a new ERP? So I'm very happy to have another discussion with you on that, maybe exactly on your use case that you're trying to achieve. There is
Perfect,
another.
thank you. But is
Perfect.
there a possibility? So all the changes you did, yes, you have a log, or you have change log, whatever
Yeah.
you can call that, a Delta report. But what I'm looking at is, can we export that um, into an Excel or something
Yep.
and upload it with all the changes into our ERP system?
Yeah, you can, but it really depends on the data which is part of that report. Because if I've done a post merger, and the post merger comes with employees and positions. So if you were to do a write back, and let's say I moved an employee, promoted that employee of the acquired company to a position that I've created, this employee does not exist in your ERP yet. So that write back would fail. It would not work, whether you use an offline process or whether you use an integrated process, because the employee does not exist in the system. So the relationship between the employee and the position does not exist. So we have to be very clear on the type of changes that you do and the type
Right.
and
So that's
whether
why
the data exists.
I'm looking at a case situation or a case scenario where it is more like a restructuring, internal restructuring, not a
See,
merger or an acquisition, but more like a restructuring. So
yeah,
that's what I'm looking at.
yeah, that's a good point. So I think in that, if that's the case, then yes, if you have um, SuccessFactors does support that you do some data entry through templates, but of course you would need to do some effort on your end, which is taking our changes report, transforming it into the format which is expected by SuccessFactors to be able to upload it in SuccessFactors. Of course, ideally, um, I would say once you move to SuccessFactors and we already have the application connected via OData API, and you do the org design there, then the write back is automatic. So you don't have to, we have automated write back into SuccessFactors, so you don't have to do that extra step. But I think the challenge for you is you're going through this transition between SAP HCM on-prem and SuccessFactors on the cloud. And you want that org design you create in SAP HCM to be in SuccessFactors. So you would probably need to have that manual update of the data until we have the integration with SuccessFactors enabled for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Sushil, you have a question as well?
Yeah, so like this Excel upload template for M&A scenario that you spoke about, is it just a one-time activity upload? Because if the M&A activities are going on for, say, for a year,
Yep.
so we have to keep this syncing every day via the Excel template manually or automated way? How that works?
Yeah, so that's a again very loaded question, and again it depends, of course, on the process we take. I started by saying typically you would do a phased approach, so you wouldn't start with the entire organization in a huge org merger scenario and do everything using work area assignments and then finalize it. You probably take a part of the organization first as a scenario, finalize it, and then bring the data into your ERP system. So it's typically done as a phased approach. And again, there's different things you can do. So what I've shown you today is using an org merger scenario to import the data. But many of our clients also do something a little bit different. So instead of using an org merger scenario like I've shown here, where are we? Where we go ahead and import the data. Instead of doing it this way, they import the data the in the source system, and then they create org designs in Nakisa HR Suite with full access to the baseline data of the acquiring company and the data you've just imported it in the source, which is the acquiring company data, which may not be structured fully yet. Maybe it's just positions that you've uploaded, or maybe just employees without any positions. And then they use our org design capabilities to create that structure. So let's say you've acquired a company with 500 employees. You bring these employees in SuccessFactors. And let's say Nakisa HR Suite is integrated with SuccessFactors. So what I'm saying is, instead of having an Excel file of these 500 employees with their positions and then using an org merger scenario to merge it with the source, instead of doing that, you would import these 500 employees in SuccessFactors, maybe with or without their positions, we will have to see. And then you use Nakisa Org Design, where you read your entire data of the acquiring company and the 500 employees that you just imported, bring all this data in the org design scenario, and then create the skeleton structure with positions, placing the people in these positions, merging it with your acquiring company, and then you can trigger the write back. So there's different options, there's different ways to do it, and it depends on case-by-case basis. We need to look into it.
Okay, I think that helps. Yeah, thanks for that.
Okay, perfect. So I think we are, if there's no other questions, I just want to, I don't think there's anything else I wanted to cover. This just gives you a high-level overview of a potential use of Nakisa HR Suite for bringing in acquired company data and visualizing it. There's a huge value add. Even if you don't do the full merger there, it's still great that you're able to visualize the impact, visualize the analytics of the acquired company, and understand the impact of the changes as you do these merger scenarios. So with that said, that takes us to the end of the today's session. I hope you found it insightful. Again, if you have any final questions or comments, or you want to go deeper with me on any of these topics, I'll be more than happy to work with you on. I'm always available, so you know my email, so sherif.luka@nakisa.com. Just write to me or your dedicated account manager, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you. So at the end, I'd just like to thank you for coming today and for participating in this session, and all of the Nakisa colleagues who joined us virtually today. And I hope to see you all in the next office hours, which will most likely be around the new next generation org insight solution